Hi everyone, happy Witchy Wednesdays. It's Majori here from the Punk Priestess. We're going to talk about the astrology for the week and what's coming up, next week as well. And I hope you tuned in to my Magic Mondays, which covered the first 3 days of all the astrology happening. It was, it's a lot. There's a lot going on the first week of September, starting out with a bang, back to school energy, Virgo season is here. And I hope you enjoyed your new moon in Virgo yesterday. So definitely, if you haven't checked out earlier this week's episode, definitely, take a little bit of a deep dive there. And I cover everything that, kind of what's going on with those transits and also what's to come in correlation to some of that astrology. So we're going to talk about the astrology for today, and there's a lot going on. So we're just going to kind of break it down little by little. We are going to be talking about the Sabian symbols for some of these astrological events, and then I will be intuitively pulling some tarot cards as well as some oracle cards. So we're going to have a lot to cover. And also make sure you're subscribing to my Substack. This is where I also include all the pictures and the visuals that I'm going to be showing during this live, but also just have a little bit more insight on some other events that I talk about with the astrology and some deeper personal pieces and other really cool things that I cover. So definitely all the things are on my Substack, and make sure you're following me on social media as well. So we're just going to talk about September 4th today, what's going on. We have Venus conjuncting Lilith in Libra, and this is also in conjunction to the South Node in Libra. So already we have an influx of Libra energy just kind of slowly taking over and dominating. And this conjunction is happening at 7 degrees and 26 minutes. So we're going to read the Sabian symbol for 8 degrees Libra. And the moon is also entering Libra today. This afternoon is going to be at 4:12 p.m. Eastern time. So we're going to have this, another connection with Libra coming in. And simultaneously with the South Node in Libra, this means the North Node is in Aries, and Venus is going to be opposing the North Node in Aries at 7 degrees and 26 minutes as well. So we're going to read the Sabian symbol for 8 degrees Aries and kind of see how this opposition correlates. Also today, Mars is entering Cancer. This is going to be happening at 7:46 p.m. So later in this evening, we have Mars shifting signs. And later on in the week, on September 6th, we had the North Node opposing Lilith. So this is going to be the North Node in Aries opposing Lilith in Libra. And this is at 7 degrees and 49 minutes. So again, this will be the Sabian symbol for 8 degrees, Libra and Aries. So we're going to be touching base on that and kind of see how these Sabian symbols progress throughout the next week. And then on September 7th, we have Mercury and Leo squaring Uranus and Taurus. And this is going to be at 27 degrees and 14 minutes. So we'll read the Sabian symbol for 28 degrees Leo. I read the Sabian symbol for 28 degrees Taurus in Magic Mondays episode. So if you want to hear about that, definitely, go back and listen to that episode. It's very eye-opening, and it's really interesting, these Sabian symbols coming to pass at the later degrees of Taurus. And then last but not least, on September 9th, Mercury officially enters Virgo after being retrograde, back and forth between Virgo and Leo. So it is going to be moving right back into Virgo. So that's what we're going to be covering. And we're going to pull some tarot cards, some oracle cards, and I'm going to share pictures on my Substack of all of this. I do apologize. I have a little bit of an allergy. Bless you, had a sneeze. It's just morning allergies. So, it is what it is, but thank you for bearing with me if I sneeze again. So let's kind of take a deep dive into this conjunction today. It's interesting that Lilith is in Libra. I think it's the timing is perfect for Lilith to be in Libra right now, especially now that we have Kamala Harris on the presidential ticket as a woman. And I feel Lilith is the suppressed feminist and, trying to reclaim female empowerment in an age, in a time, in a moment when it's been, suppressed, like, secondhand citizens, like losing our rights and, overturning Roe versus Wade. So I think this is like Lilith's vengeance, and Libra is like, oh, you thought I was just like this sweet, kind of like energy on the sidelines, just receptive. Oh, do whatever you want with me. And it's like, no, hold my beer. I'm going to show you what I'm made of. And if you ever pissed off a Libra, like, like they have this sweet, very like warm, friendly side to them. But if you piss off a Libra, like, you better brace yourself, because it is very, very scary. So, and I can attest to this because I have a sister who's a Libra. All of my best friends are Libras, and not saying that I piss them off, but I've seen them mad. And well, my sister and I, it's a different story, sisters. But it's just like, yeah, like, this Libra energy, it has a bite. And Lilith and Libra, definitely not here to play. It's here to make up for lost time. And it's definitely the divine feminine warrioress, trying to make itself visible, known, and not suppressed. So I think this is good. And I also think it's like interesting too that Kamala is a Libra sun and she's an Aries moon. So she has that duality in her, but it's just kind of like, we're not going back. So I think this is interesting. Venus moving into Libra, this is, definitely a very beautiful placement. This is its home, Venus's home sign. One of her home signs is Libra. So, feeling very comfortable here. And then we have our South Node in Libra, which I think also kind of aligns with the suppression of Lilith in Libra, and how we have this softer feminine side, reigniting with its power and finding its power again. And then the moon, I think, aligning with Libra as well, like all this Libra energy is very important. I'm going to show you the chart for this. Let's see if I have the right one here. Yes, here we go. So here's the chart for today's astrology. And this is for, I have this here for when the moon goes into Libra. So this is going to be at 4:12 p.m. And here you can see this, this conjunction, this stellium energy here. We have the moon, the vertex is also in there in Libra. We have Lilith, we have Venus, and then we have the South Node. So all of this energy here. We're going to be talking about the Sabian symbols for 8 degrees Libra. So we're going to talk about this energy. And then, you see like it's directly opposite the North Node here in Aries. And then, we also have Chiron in Aries. It's not like the degrees at 22. It's further ahead than the degrees of the North Node and all this Libra opposition. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. And then yeah, we have here Mars is at 29 degrees and 54 minutes of Gemini. Hasn't fully crossed over yet into Cancer, but it will later tonight. So that's what we're going to be covering. You can see we have this kite aspect pattern as well, and it's pointing at this Neptune Pisces energy. And I think it's interesting, I talked about the Sabian symbol. Neptune is retrograde in Pisces right now. So I talked about the Sabian symbol in my last Magic Monday reading. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. But I just think, the point that the kite is at is very pivotal in just making sure that we, pay attention to this. So, and I think, with this, it's another connection to spirituality and like really trying to like honor our own healing and our own collective healing. I'm going to stop sharing this, but this, all the graphs and charts that I show are going to be on my Substack. So making sure you subscribe, not just follow, subscribe. You don't have to pay to be a subscriber, but if you would like to, that would be, amazing to support my work and my time. But, this would be, where you can get all the insight and all the pictures for everything that I show. for this reading. I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to read the Sabian symbol before we pull some cards for today. And we're going to talk about Libra's Sabian symbol first at 8 degrees. And then we'll talk about Aries at 8 degrees. Grab some water here. I have a little tickle in my throat. I think, yeah, definitely allergy season is here. It's alive and well. All right. So the Sabian symbol for Libra is a blazing fireplace in a deserted home. The keynote, the need to realize that even through the most empty hours, a spiritual power is ever ready to welcome and warm up the wayward consciousness returning to center. And the keyword for this is hope. So hope for new beginnings. And within the abandoned great dream, some warm presence remains. And this is a very spiritual Sabian symbol. It's interesting for Libra because it's a little bit of duality here. Excuse me. Because Libra, it's all about community. It's all about, friendships and partnerships and relationships. Like Libras don't like to be alone. Libras always need some type of presence. And so for the duality here in the Sabian symbol to be a deserted home, like empty, it's interesting because you never really catch, Libras alone. So I think that's an interesting duality. But a lot of this Sabian symbol is like about assistance from spirit, from our guardian angels. And like these guardian angels can be, spiritual, and they can also be, people, like some people in our life, we can consider them a guardian angel. But it's kind of like saying that, despite, having an empty home, like feeling isolated, feeling alone within our own life, whatever it is, there is still the presence of spirit. There is still the presence of faith and hope and, people, guardian angels who will continue to support and help us. And spirit is always with us. And, even when we make mistakes, even when we, feel like no one understands us, we're misunderstood, like spirit is always there. We always have like some type of, connection to divinity and to the other side. And it helps us stay, here. It helps us be encouraged to pursue our dreams and to conquer on. I just am going to have this like little quote here during my research that kind of describes the Sabian symbol. Hope is faith's refusal of faith to die. So hope is faith's refusal of faith to die. And I think this is interesting with, Lilith and Libra, with the South Moon in Libra, and, with this Venus energy, like all this feminine energy, it's just, it's a refusal to die. Like you will not be able to kill the feminine spirit. And I think it's, definitely there's this spiritual presence that's behind, women right now trying to propel and push ourselves forward. And we can't abandon that, we can't abandon ourselves in this fight. We've been fighting for our lives forever, and we will continue to persist and fight. And there's like this warrior presence coming in. When we are tested, when we feel like we're isolated, when we feel like we have nothing left but to trust ourselves and to have faith in a higher power, or faith in our guardian angels and people who are there supporting us, that's when like wisdom becomes stronger. That's when we definitely feel, like we're able to rely on ourselves, and this in turn gives us more compassion for others. So, yeah, it's definitely, I think it's just a good connection for us to reflect on, of like, even in times of abandonment, in times when we feel like we deserted everything that we know, or, people have deserted us, there is still a blazing fireplace. There is still a passion. There is still a light, burning inside of us. There's still desire. And, even like Libra, it's like passion for close relationships, passion for people who understand. And I think, this is saying like, keep on having hope and faith that the right people will find you at the right time, because they will. And never give up on yourself, never give up on spirit, and never give up on others. And I'm just kind of looking over a little bit of the Sabian symbol here. Until the fire of the soul within the human psyche totally dies out, a rare and tragic occurrence, there is always hope of recovery and new beginnings. And I really feel that is true. Like, we're in this moment where there is going to be this new beginning coming through, it's, personally within ourselves and collectively. And, I really do think that, there's some solidarity here, once we realize that there is, more connection outside of our ideals, there is, other people who have felt this desertedness and are now, coming home to each other and, working together, that's where the hope shines. That's where their new beginning comes through. So that's a little bit about the Sabian symbol. And I think the connection with Venus and Lilith and the South Node and all this energy in Libra is just, there is hope. There is hope. And it's hard. It's hard right now when the opposite, and we're seeing like a lot of this duality, and we're going to read about the Sabian symbol for Aries in a little bit for 8 degrees, but it's really hard to sometimes have faith in times when you see the direct opposite of what you believe in and how, your values and things like that, you see them, like, I guess, being very exuberant, being very loud, just kind of like, I got to remain in my faith. I can't desert my passion. I can't desert my home, and spirit won't allow me. And I guess like an example of this is, all the people who are very like loud and proud, Trump supporters, you think, oh my gosh, like there's so many of them, but really no. And really people of sound mind aren't acting crazy like that. And it's a lot of fear projected of people who go out of their way to try to push their political agenda publicly for people out, like, with signs on their lawn, or, you don't really see that from the left, because it's like, there's, again, sound mind, knowing better. But I do think, yeah, you just kind of feel like, oh my God, is everyone thinking this way? And they're like, no, you get like a little bit of like reassurance of like, okay, like, there's still some sound mind people out there. Like, for example, a couple houses down from our house, there is a guy that yesterday just put up 2 Trump signs, and I'm just like, oh my God. I mean, knowing who this person, not knowing them personally, but having some encounters with them and some conversations with them, you're like, yeah, that tracks. Of course, a white male in their maybe late 60s, early 70s, like, kind of scuzzy, just like doesn't have like any type of like relationship or anything like that, and is very isolating and alone. And so I wasn't surprised when I saw that on his lungs. I'm like, yeah, that tracks. And part of you was like, great, I got to pass by this house every single time I drive down my street to get home, and it's just, you have to block it out, you have to ignore it, and just know that you're on the right side of history. And like, people like him, they don't really understand the layers and depths of other people's experiences outside of their own. And so that's why we're here. But I definitely think it's definitely, we need a new perspective. We need a new shift. We need a more feminine energy to power. We just need someone who's a new thinker. We've had men throughout, all this time, and over 250 something years. And it's time for something fresh. I mean, I think it'd be very beautiful and liberating. The age of Aquarius starting, like this new revitalization, this new revolution of Pluto moving into Aquarius, a new reset of 250 years in astrology with a woman on top. I think that would really kind of show the progression that we're making and what's to come for the next 250 years. So, I think that's going to be a very, very, telling astrological event. But, I'm going to pull some cards here. And sorry, I just feel like I'm a little stuffed up. Um, all right, interesting. Take a swig of my water. So should have hit my Stanley taking taking center stage here. Just wanted to be in the frame. So what I have here is the Page of Pentacles upright. I'm using Carol's tarot here, and I have this vintage tarot and astrology deck. I have the World, and I have Saturn here. So this is interesting. I think what this is trying to progressively say is like, there is this new world order coming in. There's the end of the old world order. Saturn is also, it's exalted in Libra. Don't forget that. Like, a lot of people don't know that Saturn actually thrives in Libra. So I think this is a really good connection here. There's even like the feminine symbol in this card. That's like why I love this vintage deck, because it really gets into the nuances of astrology. So I really do feel like what this is saying is like, there is this new world order that is dictated by feminine empowerment. And Saturn's, definitely, it's a challenging, restrictive planet. It's the most important planet, but it's the most challenging to navigate. And I think what this is really saying is like, this is the end, because the world is the last card in the Fool's Journey. This is the end of female, suffrage. This is the end of women being repressed and outcasted and second, world citizens. Like, this is the end of that cycle. And I think this is a good omen for what's to come, and women empowerment, building the future, a lot of like new ideas, new inventions, and this new perspective coming through with the Page of Pentacles. And I think that's really, I mean, what the astrology looks like with the next couple of years. And Aquarius is very female supportive, and the world card, Saturn rules Aquarius as well as Pluto, but this is also like a really deep connection to this new working world and this new expansion of female empowerment and strength and liberation. So I really do like this. And I just feel like we can't give up hope. We can't desert ourselves in the room. We have to remind ourselves that we have faith, we have guardian angels, we have connection all around us, and that's going to sustain us. And we should expect spirit to come through. And there's a lot of like passion and burning desires that, we get to create a new world, and it's going to help us create a new world for others and for ourselves. So that's the Sabian symbol for, and some of the tarot cards for what's to come, September 4th. And this is going to persist through like the next, week. And I think it's a very beautiful energy. So Aries is, 8 degrees, the North Node is in Aries. This is the opposite of the North Node, the South Node in Libra. And I'm going to read the Sabian symbol for that. Okay, so the Sabian symbol for 8 degrees Aries is a large women's hat with streamers blown by an east wind. The keynote: projection and spiritual guidance in the development of consciousness. And some of the keywords here are protective forms, sensitivity, and there is this like more receptive energy with these Sabian symbols. And it's interesting, for Aries, I think this is for sure this a little bit of braggadocious energy here with the streamers blown in the east wind on a women's hat. So like, it's like attention grabbing. It's like, the streamers are like giving attention. It's not this subtle hat. It's like you see the streamers on the hat blowing and it catches your attention. And Aries, it's not subtle energy. It's not going to hide in the background. It's going to make itself known. It's going to make itself like center and It's very like upfront. And I think this is kind of like in your face. I mean, we could actually like really visualize this as a magma hat, you know, Make America Great Again hat. It's like in your face, and it's really like, you know, attention grabbing for not the right reasons. But you know, um, like, yeah, it is what it is, unfortunately. But again, I think this like goes with what I was saying with the other Sabian symbol here of Libra, of how, you know, like people who are very much like out there in your face, it sometimes has you question, like, am I alone in this journey and fight? But then again, it's like all a front. And it's like, I think people, it's just like people who show off, like people who are very much like, I gotta show off and I gotta, you know, be like the center of attention, and I gotta like, you know, be out there. They're very, it's like a form of insecurity. And it's like, that's why I feel like, you know, the left, the more progressive, they aren't doing that because we're secure within ourselves. And that's like, yeah, and it's like overcompensating. Like, you know, they have like small dick energy. It really is small dick energy. And yeah, wearing a magma hat is small dick energy. But it's definitely for sure, you know, the Sabian symbol, there's a lot of layers to it. I mean, I think that's like just this, you know, modern, like one-off interpretation of the Sabian symbol. But a lot of it is, you know, in a more spiritual sense, it is like balancing our passionate enthusiasm with caution. And I think that's something that we need to reflect on. There needs to be like a little bit of consciousness coming in. And that's, you know, as an Aries, I can speak to this. It's very much like do first, like think later. And there can be repercussions to that. And that's what the Sabian symbol is. It's like before you go like projecting something, like think of what the I guess think of what the repercussions could be. And it's like, you know, balancing passion, enthusiasm with caution. And I think, you know, I'll give an example of Kamala Harris's stepdaughter. She unfortunately had to put her knitting group on hold. Ella had to, I think her name is Ella, if I'm right. Hopefully I'm correct on that. But she had to put her knitting group on hold because of all the attacks against her aunt or her stepmother. And you know, it's very like sad that she's just trying to knit, she's trying to live her best life, she's just trying to be her. And you know, she has to proceed with caution because she's not sure, you know, I'm sure she's getting death threats and like all this other stuff. But it's, you know, it's a protective mechanism that she has to take. Is like, well, I'm just going to temporarily end this club of mine that I have so much passion and joy in, and like so many people have passion and joy, but it's like a choice, like to protect herself. And that's like a hat too. Like a hat is a protective device, you know, it's a protective fashion statement and, you know, tool, protecting you from the sun, can protect you from, you know, harm and intruders. And you know, and I feel like, you know, she's still enthusiastic. She was speaking at the DNC. I watched her speech. And I think that, you know, part of this is, you know, she just has to be cautious, unfortunately, because there's fucking psychos out there. So, you know, the head is a protective force. And it's also, you know, it's protective when it comes to spiritual, you know, and kind of more like, again, we're going to go to the guardian angel. There's like a lot of like psychic and spiritual protection. We can say like a metaphorical way of this hat. And I think it's just like knowing that like spirit is on our side and guiding us and protecting us. And yeah, I'm just looking at a little bit of what I wrote here. You know, and it's when we talk about you know, hats and, you know, spirituality, you know, the first thing that I think of is you know, people used to wear hats to church. I mean, some people still do, but it was like you would dress to the nines at church. Like church is like, you know, used to be this place of like kind of a fashion show. And you know, hats were like huge, you know, 50, 60 years ago, you wouldn't be seen like really out in public without a hat, especially, you know, as a woman. And it was a little bit of this like showiness in society. It's like showing our exuberance in public of, a hat being worn to church in a spiritual place, and, kind of showing a little bit of like, well, I have more respect and faith for God because I have like a more exuberant hat, or they say, the higher the hair, the higher the hair, the closer to God. It's kind of something like that. But I do feel it's a very spiritual sense of like wanting to like show our support for something that we believe in. I mean, it could be a magma hat, it could be, a Kennedy hat, it could be anything. I have a hat that says drink water at it. And I wear that when I'm in Florida. Yeah. So it's like something like that. So, it's a go slow and drink water. That's the hat I have from Salt and Sorcery. And I wear that in Florida. And everyone's like, oh my God, I love your hat because it's like 90 degrees. And I'm wearing the hat to like remind people like, just go slow, drink water. But there's also, a more spiritual connotation to that as well. But yeah, I just think it's like, a showing off, like the streamers on the hat, showing off, our support, either if it's more faith-based, wearing a very beautiful hat to church, or it's wearing, unfortunately, a magma hat and showing support to a convicted felon. You choose. But it's also just like, sometimes like when we wear, it doesn't even have to be a hat. It can be merch. It can be, like I was wearing like a PJ Harvey Rid of Me t-shirt yesterday. And my boyfriend sent it to some friends because it was like some connection to one of their kids whose nickname is PJ. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, that's such a cool shirt. And it's just like, yeah, like I have like a very like cool band t-shirt collection. I probably have like over 60 band t-shirts I've collected over the years. And, you have like a sense of pride when you wear your favorite band t-shirt, and then it connects you with community or like-minded people, because there are people like, oh yeah, like I love Joy Division, or oh my God, Angel Olsen or Mitski. Like, it's kind of like a cool thing. And like when I go to concerts, I like to wear band t-shirts. I can wear it of the band, or sometimes I wear it of like different bands, and it's just like you have that support. And I guess this is what that Sabian symbol, it's kind of saying, it's like a little bit of exerting your ego. It's, but, through exerting the ego, it's a form of creation and imagination. And we create from our imagination. So, but yeah, I hope that makes sense. But I guess to kind of like, put these Sabian symbols together, it's, really the in your face propaganda, it's definitely can make you feel a certain way. But then when you are surrounded in community with your people, you feel more in solidarity, and you feel that trusting faith, and you feel like you're not alone, you're not deserted, that passion, that flame is still there. I'm going to pull some cards here for that Sabian symbol. And I think it's good to say like you're not alone in this uncertain place. And sometimes we feel that, but until, we have the guarded confidence to wear something that's, is important to us. But also we need to read the room. And it's just like, I mean, we have the KKK, we have the magma hat, same, but different time, different era, but the same. And it's just, some people are just really blatant racist. Like they're not hiding it anymore. And it's scary, but I think Saturn here is really, in the world card, is really showing that Libra energy is exalted. It's in its best shape and form. Women are in their best shape and form. We're not going back. I'm going to pull another card here. This is interesting. So this deck that I'm using, I'll show you. It's called the Deaf Doula Oracle. This is like my new favorite deck. I got a couple months ago, and I've been using it nonstop. But the guidebook is just so good. If you follow me on Substack, I will be releasing in a couple days my unboxing video of this deck, because I think this deck is truly a work of art. I mean, it literally is a work of art, but it really is like incredible, especially if like you're an intuitive reader, even an astrologer. This is like the deck that you need to use. I'm just going to read a little bit of this keynote here for, I pulled this card Obsession. And it's interesting because like the colors of this card, it's very pink. It's very like, you know, you just think of Libra, you think of pink. And I feel that it's interesting that this card is coming in. So let me find it here. So this, and I think this is interesting. This actually goes really well with these Sabian symbols and the astrology of this week. So this card invites you to examine your compulsives, phobias, and passions. Are these obsessions driving you closer to your truest self or getting in the way? Does your body feel clenching or release when reflecting on these infatuations? Obsession has the power to yield a rewarding bounty through being creative, but do not ignore its innate power rooted in distraction. So I think that's important. I think, you know, and yeah, it's like, I feel, I mean, I don't want to get too political here, but I think this is a very political Sabian symbol, especially with all this like suppressed feminine Libra Venetian astrology. And I just think like, you know, some people need to examine like, why are you so obsessed with like, I guess your ego? Why are you so obsessed with like harming others? It's like people need to stop thinking about themselves and put themselves in other people's shoes. And I don't know. I think there's been a lot of people who were like who were officially Trump supporters who have switched. A lot of Republicans too. There were so many Republican speakers at the DNC. But I do think this is kind of, you know, people are literally obsessed. And it's like, have you actually taken the time to like do your research and study and know about the 2025 project and, you know, how it's actually going to be like really shitty for you. So it's like some people like, they're just so like, they're so obsessed with this, you know, and it's very distraction oriented. I think, you know, a lot of it's distraction. I run an astrology circle. I'm taking a little bit of a break from it, but I run an astrology circle in person, and you know, I had to cover, I wanted to cover the astrology for like the next 6 months and moving into, you know, 2025 and stuff like that. And of course I have to talk about, you know, Trump and Vance's chart because I have to do my homework. I have to go full circle. And it's just, it's very much annoying that I got to put my energy towards that, but it's like I have to do the full thing. I can't just half-ass it. And you know, but it's also just like, we have to make sure we're like not rooted in distraction. It's like we're actually trying to be creative. And I think, you know, with Aries and Libra, both very creative and artistic signs. And I think that, you know, this is an opportunity for us to create something different and better for our world. That's why I think like, let's just have, you know, a different perspective. We need different energy. We need something different to push us forward the next 250 years, not backwards. And I think it's interesting too, you know, Capricorn is the ruling planet of Saturn as well as Aquarius. And it's like we can either go back in the past because Capricorn is the past or Aquarius is the future. And like hopefully we can propel ourselves into the future. But I think it's a good sign here. But I just think like, let's be obsessed with creating something new and different and helpful and beautiful for everyone, just not ourselves. Let's think about other communities. Let's think of other people. In it, like the next like decade, like less than the next decade, like the next 8 years, everyone's going to be like biracial, intermixed, you know, everyone's families. Like you can't stop it. We're already there. What's 8 years, you know? And I think like we have to like have a more healthier obsession. Let's be obsessed with the Page of Pentacles. How can we make life better for other people outside of ourselves? How can we make life better for ourselves? What new creative ideas can we push forward into the future instead of trying to work with something that it has outlived its time? Like let's be progressive and have some new ideas, push us forward, push this economy forward. Like, yeah, and you can't stop astrology. Astrology already knows. So yeah, that's a Sabian symbol. That's a little bit of the astrological breakdown for the first, you know, couple days of this week and like moving into moving into next week. So I'm just going to talk about the last statement I'm going to read, and the last cards I'm going to pull is for Mercury and Leo squaring Uranus and Taurus. And this is going to be at 27 degrees and 14 minutes. So I already talked about the Sabian symbol for Uranus at 28 degrees in Taurus. I'll just reread it really fast. And then we're going to talk about a little bit more in depth the Sabian symbol for 28 degrees Leo. Let me find it here. Okay, so the Sabian symbol, and again, listen to my Magic Mondays. I talk all about this. Follow me on Substack. I talk about it. So the Sabian symbol for 28 degrees Taurus is a woman past her change of life experiences a new love. So that was that Sabian symbol, which I talked extensively about. I'm not going to do that again here. The Sabian symbol for 28 degrees Leo is many little birds on a limb of a big tree. And the keynote, a wide and perhaps confusing openness to inspiring potentialities. And the keywords are overwhelmed with potentialities. So, there's a lot, going on. There's so many different, things that you're hearing online. There's so many different conspiracy theories. We can't discern fact from fiction at this point. It's really scary. And like how people take one little thing and they exaggerate it, and that's like why I'm glad that RFK Jr. dropped out, because some things, yes, were valid about his campaign. And it's interesting, like you would go on his, like I went on, this was like back in the springtime, you would go on his website and see like what his stance was, what he's cared about. And you go on there now and it's like completely different. It's not the same values, it's not the same things. And yeah, I think there's a little bit of drinking the Kool-Aid with him, for sure. There were some things like, I'm like, okay, yes, definitely makes sense, definitely valid, definitely in agreement. But a lot of things I'm like, this is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But some people get lost in that. And that's a very, Neptunian thing. It's a very Neptune and Pisces conspiracy theory, disillusionment. It can be dangerous too. So, I think what this is saying with like all these potentialities, like there's so much going on. That's why we need to like really not be chronically online. We have to think for ourselves, and we have to make sure that we're doing our own research and not just like following like some of these accounts that, either highly progressive or highly conservative or like conspiracy theorists. Like it's also very low vibrational. Like if you ever watch conspiracy theorists like videos, and I used to follow this like witchy account that also like every Thursday was like conspiracy theory Thursdays, and would like have a bunch of these things that you don't know if they're real or true. There's a lot of the way that they're filmed and edited, it seems like it's real, but who the fuck knows? And I had to eventually stop following it because it just became too crazy. And it was like, yeah, it's like you want to be informed, but it's also like you're going down this rabbit hole like Alice in Wonderland, and you're just like, you can't even discern. And it's just like you just have to stay in faith and truth with what you know, and like be guided and directed by spirit. And I think that's why the internet, all these social media websites, it's like a detriment. It's very like it's very much like brain rot. A lot of these social platforms are just brain rot. And it leads to a lot of inaction. And I think like little birds on a limb of a big tree, birds are gossip. Birds have a lot to do with misinformation or just like chatter. And it's it's the mental realm. Like birds are the mental realm in spirit, and it's, making sure that we're thinking clearly. And we're not, being overwhelmed. We're not, overwhelmed in despair. We're not overwhelmed in like a conspiracy theory type of world where we're not grounded in reality. we have to focus on optimal opportunity. We have to focus on the right things. We can't be focused on here, all over the place. We have to be focused on an initial concrete, real driving force. We can't ignore the reality around us, if we even know what that is. Like a lot of people are like, so many people are living in different realities, but I think like consciously, people who are awakened, who are more in tune, who are more aware, third eye, crown chakra opening, like really can see through the bullshit. Um, and no one's like exempt from, confusion. And there's a challenge, with being confused because you just don't know. And maybe instead of like trying to open up your mouth and speak, just say, I don't know. Like the world would be a more healed place if people were said, I just don't know. But I don't know, but let me find out. Not let me just make a video and post it on TikTok about some crazy ass theory that makes no sense. So, it's just like people are reaching for views, for clout, for attention. There's like this level, this air of authenticity. And the many little birds, it's like if you think about like, school and who do you want to associate with? Do you want to be in this crowd? Do you want to be in that crowd? This crowd is saying gossip about this crowd and this person. And it's all this gossip and chatter, and it leads to a lot of overwhelmness. But then you find your people, your group, your clique, and you hold, solidarity and strength within that. And that helps you stay clear focused and clear minded. And, I think this is, really interesting for Leo. And if you, know Leo folk, if you have Leo friends, family, this is something that rings very true. It's like, which is why, this is a Sabian symbol for Leo. It's not a Sabian symbol for Gemini. But like Leo energy, it does a lot at once. And this quote here, trying to do too much would stop us from doing anything well. And I think we need to be very discerning of what we want to put our time and energy towards, and not have too many options and have too many potentialities and be overwhelmed. And I feel like this is kind of saying like, just stick to what stick to, what you can do well, so that there can be some type of lasting longevity. It's not just, a fragmented here, there. That's just like the vibe I felt from RFK Jr.'s campaign. Is just like, it's fragmented. It's like here, there, it's like scattered, but there's nothing like, concrete. And he's changed his platform so many times because the conspiracy theories are changing all the time. So yeah. So, and I feel like we need to go with what feeds our long-term goals. And I think there's like many options that can lead to, a lot of inspiration, a lot of ideas. There's also like, remember the Sabian Symbols, there's a lot of duality. So, I do think there could be some good things, like some planting some new seeds for the future harvest. And yeah, but I mean, the main component of the Sabian symbol is that there is a crossroads of what our potential can be and what it can become. And do we want to further something, or do we want to allow it to marinate and have the seeds, have some type of rooting and birth into something? But yeah, I just think we need to focus on the long term. And that's what this Page of Pentacles card is kind of trying to say, as well as the Saturn energy. Let's, think about the long term. And I think, who's like, women are very long term thinking because, being mothers, or raising family, have this instinct to like cultivate and to build, something worth lasting and worth protecting. And I think that's why we need a new perspective collectively. So, that's that Sabian symbol. And we need to focus on, not limiting ourselves, but we also need to focus on having like a concrete vision of activity. And I think that's what we need to reflect on with the Sabian symbol and this transit with Mercury squaring Uranus. And it's that the Sabian symbol for Uranus, it's, really kind of saying that we need to have something that can withstand time and not just be fleeting in the moment. A woman past her change of life experiences new love. It's time to experience something new. It's time to put all that energy into something new, and something new that can be sustainable and long lasting for the future. but there is some friction with that because too many potentialities can eventually lead to that failing and it becoming nothing, all that time and energy wasted. So I'm going to pull a card here. I'm going to pull a card from this astrology deck. I heard something. I'm gonna open my door. Like, I think my cat is sneezing. Heard a couple little sneezes in there. He's sleeping right now. All right, almost done here. Pull one more card to end. And what do I pull? The South Node and the North Node. And I think this is a really good way to wrap up, to kind of like, let's go back to the Sabian Symbols I just talked about, the South and North Node. And, you know, I think it's important to do some research too on these North Node and South Node placements, and North Node being in Aries, the South Node being in Libra. And, you know, what it's telling us, you know, to advocate for our own sense of agency, to empower our sense of self, and to not forget the suppression that we've endured in our past. And, you know, having the right people, having the right communities, having the right partnerships and relationships to propel our ideas forward. And I think, you know, it's very important, the South Node, North Node, Libra, Aries energy, and it's just super heightened and empowered right now. And this is going to be, you know, it's happening this week, it's happening next week, but let's also see how this concludes with the moon going to be an eclipse in Libra on October 2nd. We're going to have our solar eclipse in Libra, and this is going to be very important. And I think it's interesting how the moon's entering Libra today, and then, you know, what it's going to look like on October 2nd. So like less than a month from now. But yeah, this is the energy of the week. And I hope this is inspiring to you. And didn't mean for it to go like super political, but I just think, you know, we have to relate the Sabian symbols to the times. And this is like some of the examples that we're given right now. And it's a very powerful year. We have next week, actually, and I'm going to talk about this next week. We have another debate but with this time Trump and Kamala. So, you know, that's going to be coming up. And we're going to talk about that next week. But I think, you know, let's sit with this astrology. Let's sit with some of these themes and how we're seeing them, you know, in our own life. And yeah, so that is the Witchy Wednesday medicine for the next week with the astrology and tarot and oracle messages. Thank you so much. And make sure you tune in next week, and I will see you soon.